welcome to this recap of Oloture, a 2020 crime drama on Netflix. We're doing this recap ahead of the release of this limited series, Oloture, The Journey. Hi, my name is Pearl, and on this channel, we do all things African cinema with special emphasis on Nollywood. So Oloture, the 2020 movie, don't let me confuse you, because once we're done with this recap, we're also going to talk about the trailer that has been released, and then we're going to sort of unpack what we expect and stuff like that. But the main portion of this video is the recap of the 2020 movie. Oloture is written by Yinka Ogun and Craig Friedmond and directed by Kenneth Gyang. Now the synopsis. In Lagos, a journalist goes undercover as a prostitute to expose human trafficking. What she finds is a world of exploited women and ruthless violence. Guys, do me a favor, please like this video. It'll only take a second to do that, but it really helps me and this channel. If you like my videos, if you subscribe, if you leave a comment, if you share, if you in one way or the other engage with this channel, it really helps me, it encourages me, and eventually, hopefully, I do get monetized. But so far, this is all just for love, and I really do need your support. Thank you. Now let's get straight to the cast and the characters that they play. We have Sharon Ooja. She's the main character. She plays Oloture. Her undercover name is Ehi, so I refer to her as either Oloture or Ehi. And then according to the agents, and she's Forza Speciale. That's a premium babe.
This one a Forza Speciale.
Okay, so that's Sharon Ooja. We have Blossom Ikechukwu. He's Emeka here, who's Oloture's colleague. They're both journalists in their outfit called The Scoop. Chegwan Rinze is Theo. He's both their boss. Omoni Dada plays Linda, who quickly becomes a he/Oloture's friend. Adebukola Oladipupo is Beauty. She's Linda's younger sister. Kemi Lala plays Blessing. She's also one of the sex workers. Beverly Osu, she's Peju, but she's not. In fact, I barely remember her here. I don't remember her here. But apparently, she's going to be very prominent in Oloture, The Journey, which is coming up. Ikechukwu Onunaku plays Chooks, who is Kemi Lala, that's Blessing's pimp. Omoni, the musician, plays Sandra. She's the landlady of the brothel where the sex workers live. Omoni Oboli plays Alero. She's the madame, also the Europe Connect. And then we have Daniel Effiong. He's Tony, Alero's Europe Connect. So Alero is the connect to the girls and Tony is her connect. Adame, of blessed memory, played Oloture's mom. So I don't know how they're going to deal with that complication. Maybe they'll just recast, because we do have a scene in the trailer. We have something in the trailer that looks like Oloture Ehi is speaking with her mom. So I guess they recast the actress. And then we also have tiny appearances by Patrick Doyle. He plays the character of Sir Philip Odanje. Ambassa Nzeribe here is Victor. And together with David Jones, David as Sheriff, and he's hilarious here. They're both enforcers. And then Gregory Ejefua has just one scene. I don't think we're going to see him again. Now, this is not a review. However, the reviewer in me from time to time might interject thoughts and opinions. Let's get straight to it. This movie opens with a he at a club where she's solicited by a customer, the one played by Gregory Ejefua. Before he can have sex with her, baby girl escapes. Now, let me just say that this was one of the first things that I sort of raised an eyebrow at. Now, if you're going undercover, I think the whole idea is that you're going to have to do any and everything that the cover implies. So I don't know what the modalities in place are to protect someone who goes undercover as a sex worker, because I don't know, but at some point you're probably going to have to actually work the sex, right? So I don't know, but that just made me like, when she escapes, I'm like, how long can you keep up with this? Anyway, she becomes friends with another sex worker, Linda. And then through Linda, Ehi/Oloture finds out there's a plan for some girls to go to Europe, and she rightly interprets this as sex/human trafficking scheme. So she tracks Linda and gets to meet Alero, who is less than pleased at being found out in this way by an unknown entity. Anyway, Alero decides to test her and takes her to a party where again Oloture/Ehi tries to evade having sex, but she ends up getting drugged and are warded very brutally. Alero is pleased with her, and she's thereafter confirmed to join the contingent going to Europe. However, she slumps into depression. Her colleague Emeka senses that there's something wrong with her. He tries to draw her out, but he intends to see this through because, I mean, almost like maybe sunk cost fallacy. For what's the worst that can happen to me after this? This terrible thing has already happened to me. Then she tells him that she's met the trafficker and that the story is just beginning. Linda informs her baby sister Beauty that it's all done, it's all ready, she sorted out their payment, and so she can start coming to Lagos so that they can together proceed to Europe. Then we find out that Beauty is a V word. She has never done the deed before, and it's not clear whether she knows what this is about, because I imagine that if she knew, she would probably want to give it away, the V thing, before she comes and whatever. And Alero has already told Linda that the sister better come femina intacta, because apparently there's a high price if a girl is, you know, a V word. We find out also that Blessing is an orphan and she's trying to get away from her abusive pimp. She approaches Alero because she also wants to join this Europe train, but she's rejected because Alero is like, nope, I don't deal with people that have pimps. It's bad market. However, Chooks finds out that Blessing is trying to escape him, and let's just say he shows his displeasure very, very eloquently. Ehi then meets with her colleague Emeka and gives him a diary that she's been writing to keep for her, and later he gets to read it, and it contains a report of everything that has happened in her time in the brothel and undercover. Emeka reads it, he reads like a novel, and then he finds out about the terrible experience she's had, and also finds out the name of the perpetrator. He's a very well-known person. I think he's a politician. The girls, they're not told when exactly they're leaving, and then very abruptly they are told, okay, you're leaving whenever, and get on the bus, and that's how the trip to Europe begins. They make the first stop there, and this is where we meet the enforcers, Victor and Sheriff. Their luggage here is searched and their phones are confiscated. Emeka goes looking for Ehi. You know, after he finds out about the R word, he's like, hell no, I'm not letting her do this. So he goes to look for her, where Vanessa very gleefully informs him that, oh, she gone, you know, I'm here, why don't you take me, blah blah blah. And you know, over there where the girls have made their first stop, they're split into two groups. So unfortunately, the sisters Linda and Beauty are separated, and it looks like with these kinds of things, you don't know, it's just like back in, you know, slavery times, families will be split, separated. If somebody will end up on another continent, you know, so the split, you know, and it's very heartbreaking. He sneakily places a call to Emeka and tells him where they are. He says he'll come get her. So this is another thing that I'm confused about, because the movie is never really clear about her intentions. Is she intending to actually join this contingent to Europe? And if so, why is she telling him, come get me, come get you, and she doesn't protest or anything like that? I really don't understand what's going on. Girl, do you want to go to Europe or nah? I don't know. Anyway, the girls are tested for their sexual proficiency, if you know what I mean, after which they are made to then perform the blood oath. The girls are made to swear that if they ever try to run away or don't meet the terms of their engagement or whatever it is, all kinds of terrible things will happen to them, stuff like that. They are also kind of branded, tattooed, whatever, they swear the oath. Emeka tracks down the Philip, the R word guy, perpetrator, the guy who did that terrible thing to Ehi, just catches him in a public restroom and assaults and brutalizes him and then tells him, you watch out, I'm coming for you. The girls receive their contracts. They're not even given any time to read it. So look, those girls don't know what the hell they just signed. They also received their travel documents. My question here is, are contracts like this legally binding, or is it just being used to hoodwink the girls? Like, if something happened that they didn't meet these contracts, is there a court that you can take it to and say, look, they actually signed that I'm going to carry them across the border to be abused and work as sex workers? I don't think so. Anyway, Linda guesses rightly that Ehi has her phone with her and asks her for it. And after many denials and protestations, Ehi finally agrees, tells her to be careful. Linda calls her mom. Of course, she's caught. We saw that coming from a mile away. And everybody is marched outside. You know, it's the middle of the night. And then there, Linda is brutally murdered. And her sister Bucci completely comes undone. She's shattered. And you know what's ironic really about this murder is that in a previous scene, Effiong's character Tony had emphasized to Alero that if Alero promises a certain number of girls, she cannot show up with less than that number by even one. He kept repeating 14 is not the same as 15. And then now they've murdered a girl. That isn't resolved in this movie. So I'm looking forward to seeing if that comes up in the series that's coming up. Now, Bucci, of course, she's passed out. Everybody can tell that now things are serious. If you thought that this was going to be kumbaya, somebody just got killed in cold blood right in front of you. So premium tears all around. He and Bucci are also questioned under duress about the phone, but they give nothing away. Then you decide that they're going to depart that night because they're kind of unsure whether or not Linda was a spy. And so now he is in charge of a rather catatonic Bucci, and this just made me feel good that Bucci is not alone in the world now that her sister's been taken from her, but that she has a he. So that's another thing at the back of my mind that, I'm looking forward to seeing how this relationship, which is going to be sort of like a proxy sister, default guardian, so to speak, but also that doesn't come to much in this movie. By the way, a small ironic detail here is that the bus that they're traveling with is actually like a mission bus or something like that. People do a lot of crime in the name of the Lord. Our God is a patient God. Let's carry on. Police arrive. Emeka has already reported from the information he got in the diary, and also the work she's already told him where they are, and he takes police over there, but of course they're already gone, and that's where they find Linda's body. Now they arrive at the Seme border, and is it Seme? Is Seme the same? Yeah, Benin Republic is Seme, right? I hope I'm not wrong about that. So they arrive at the border. Victor goes over to the border people to arrange the bribe. There's a familiarity there. Apparently, this is something that they've done 1,000 times before. Corruption is a terrible thing. Meanwhile, while everyone else is seated in the bus waiting, Bucci and Ehi, under the guise or pretense of using the restroom, they attempt to escape. Ehi is, however, caught and she's brutally assaulted and hauled back to the bus by Sheriff. This is what's really heartbreaking about this is just the way people are kind of watching. Like, a few people are kind of like, what's happening? But nobody really steps up to say, wait, how are they carrying an adult anyway? Never mind that. That's just how it happens. Meanwhile, Emeka is trying to get there. He's left the police behind. He just jumped into the car and started heading to the border. I don't know whether or not the police followed behind, but he's on his own for all we know. And then he's stopped by border patrol and he's asked to turn back. You go back. Maybe he didn't have any travel documents, and it's kind of like when you go to the international airport, beyond this point, if you're not traveling, you can't go. So he tries to explain to them this is serious, human lives, blah, blah, blah. They're like, dude, get lost before we fire you. While all of this is happening, remember that he was caught, but Bucci escaped. So she runs past them, and then at this point the bus resumes its journey, and there's this very well shot, slowed down, poignant moment when the bus crosses the border into the Republic of Benin, or Benin, and that moment was so powerful because it's almost like I was like, please, like, would he make it? I was hoping that these soldiers, border patrol, whatever, would let Emeka, even when I saw what's her name, Bucci, jet past them, I hoped that they would stop her and ask her what's going on. Are you one of the girls? And then whatever, but alas, they're gone. You know, once you cross the border, it's over. These other people no longer like have jurisdiction. And so that's where the movie ends, and really huge cliffhanger there, which sets the stage and for the next part, which is this limited series. So now let's discuss the upcoming series, starting with the trailer. And we've probably all seen the trailer, and in the trailer we see Oloture. She looks like she's been severely traumatized. She speaks with a female relative on the phone, which it's either her mom has been recast, as I said, or maybe an auntie or somebody, and that person asks her where she is. Then we have a scene of a desert crossing in an open truck, just people packed like cattle, with a voiceover narrating the risk of this crossing. Next, Oloture explains, I don't know if it's a phone call or just a voiceover, that she's writing a story about human trafficking. We then have her boss asking her where she is. That, I think that has to be a phone call, and she says she's in Niger and she knows exactly who is behind this. And as she says that, we see Tony and Bucci Franklin, who has just joined the cast. Then Beauty's mom, who I assume she doesn't even know that Linda is dead at this point. She's at the police station trying to get help. It doesn't look like she's getting much help there. We see also that Alero is still very much in play, and the girls are already working as sex workers. There's a power tussle / clash of interest between Tony and Bucci Franklin's character, who is as yet unnamed in the trailer. We see the boss then on the road is being shot at by some motorcyclists. I don't know who they are, and eventually the boss topples over, and it looks like there's been a tragic accident there. And Bucci's character informs Tony that all of his people in Niger, they don't buy. So all these girls that were taken from Nigeria are presumably dead. Apparently not, because in the very next flash, we see Oloture and Pedro, who is Beverly Osu's character, trying to get help. Then they are told by some guy, he might be a random person or not, that passage for one person is $100. They don't look like they have $10 between them, and it's either they have the money or they'll be taken to the slave market. Then we see Oloture later trying to explain to someone that she's a journalist. I'm a journalist. After that, there's a lot of kitty kata, which I'm sorry, it happened too fast for me to explain to you guys. I couldn't even follow myself. But then we see Oloture attack a man and then run off. There's a lot of things happening, honestly. Just in summary, be like say that escape go really occur. After that, we see Sir Philip confront Alero about rumors possibly relating to that R word that he committed or something. It sounds like it was going to be a big scandal, but it looks like he was able to take care of it. Then also, from what I see, it looks like this series is going to be named according to the theme of the events of each episode. Now, for new people on the cast, I've already mentioned Bucci Franklin. We also see briefly that Stan Nze has joined the cast. I also have a flash of Effiong there, and because I don't see Blossom Chukwuejukwu, it might be that Effiong is either replacing the actor or replacing the character in the scoop. I think also that kid that played Tekena in Blood Vessel, Obinna Ekenwa, he's also joined the team. All in all, guys, this is still a very solid looking cast. And then of course, Kenneth Gyang is the one steering this ship. I don't know if it's the same writers, Yinka Ogun and that other guy. Let me just talk briefly about my expectations, as I invite you to also share your own expectations in the comments. Now, I had already mentioned that Tony had been very clear to Alero that if they showed up with one less girl, it would be a big deal. So I'd like to see that picked up and some drama around that and how that's resolved. I'd like to know what happens to Beauty, because I don't really see her prominent in this trailer. There's a girl I see that seems to be working already as a sex worker, and she looks like Beauty, but she ran away. Or was that, what if that's played as a dream sequence that it was her imagination? I have no idea, but we'll see. But I'd really like to see, it sounds like a terrible thing to say that I'd like to see Beauty in this situation, but that character was introduced to us. She was a very sympathetic character, so I'd like to see what becomes of that story. I don't like, however, that if she's still in this story, Oloture here seems to be working with Pedro, so I'm not really loving that, because I want, if Beauty is still in this world, then I want to see her with Oloture. And then I don't know what happened to Linda's body, because I assume that the police, having found out there, maybe they should have contacted the family or something like that. Or maybe do those girls carry ID? Is she a Jane Doe? I have no idea. And then I'm also curious about if he/Oloture, if she's getting her report out somehow contemporaneously, you know, or if she's actually just writing and piling it up for whenever she manages to escape, and that's when the big story comes out, which that's kind of risky, because how do you know you're ever going to get out of this? And then also the story of the corruption at the border, I hope that they use that to sort of make the world a bit more expansive and plug in corruption at higher levels, because things like this never really happen without just huge corruption at higher levels and people who just give the clearance and authorization for things like this to persist. So I would just like to see the world a bit bigger. It's already bigger because it's already gone across borders, and according to what the producer Moabudu says, is going to stretch all the way to the Mediterranean. So I'm looking forward to seeing all of that. And again, please share with me your expectations, you know, what you hope to see in this series. And I haven't decided yet if I'm going to recap/review this episode by episode, or if I'm going to do all of it in one block, in one go. So, because when Netflix releases things in one block, it seems almost unnecessary to do a separate episode for each one. So I guess I'll decide. I'll know when I know. But if you guys have an opinion, please share. Like, let me know what you would prefer, and who knows, your choice might prevail. Thank you so much, guys, for staying to the end of this video. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. Turn on your notifications so that you can see my videos when they drop. I'm really looking forward to this series, okay? I hope you are as well. And what do I tell you, my favorite people? You have the right to an incredible viewing experience, so never settle.